Well, hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are, whatever time of day it is, or indeed evening. Welcome along to the Fantasy Threesome FPL podcast. My name is Mike Botto, and this is Anthony Kellett.
Hello, Michael. How are you?
Yeah, not so bad. Yourself?
Not too bad, although I feel like we are missing something fairly crucial tonight. What about you?
Are we? Yeah, well, absolutely we are. Young Phil, our the anchor of the show, if you will. Give or take a letter or two. He is unable to join us. He's snowed down with work, and so we've brought in a special guest host. A bit like we did think about replacing with a tub of lard, akin to "Have I got news for you?" when Boris Johnson didn't turn up, but we didn't want to go down that route. So, without further ado, let's welcome our special guest co-host.
Nice.
It's Matt Pocket.
Hey, how you doing?
Oh, welcome.
I've done some family tree homework lately, and I'm pretty close to confirming there have been no polys.
Much
to your disappointment.
Yeah,
there is still a small chance.
Yeah, keep digging.
Yeah.
So, Matt, look, just tell us a little bit about yourself, because you've been on the show once before, but where do you reside, and how on earth did you stumble across the podcast?
A lovely place called Sault Ste. Marie, Michigan. We're in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. So Michigan, we get to do the cool thing with our hand, right, where you point to where you are. So if this is the mitten right here, we're the Upper Peninsula.
Okay.
Here on the eastern corner. So it's a pretty cool place, small town. But I'm from Metro Detroit originally. I actually came across this through you because of your affiliation through AFC Bournemouth. I followed you on Twitter. You tweeted about the podcast, and
wow,
loyal fan since. So
love that, Matt. What got you into AFC Bournemouth out of interest over there?
FIFA. Strangely enough, it was I think FIFA 09, and because the U.S. had just played in the Confederations Cup against prime Spain, right? I went out and they won that game 1-0. I went out the next day. I bought FIFA and I started playing as the worst team that I could find at that point in the game, which was an AFC Bournemouth. Lo and behold, 2 years later, the ratings were awful back then. But lo and behold, years later, this team starts making its run up the ladder and start learning more about the story. And what an amazing story. There's nothing else like it in sports. I mean, we don't have promotion relegation here in the States. So to see somebody really, truly go from where this club has been to where it's gone in these last few years, it's unbelievable. There's nothing like it.
It's been pretty nuts. Yeah, it has been pretty nuts.
Yeah.
Yes, indeed. Well, look, it's great to have you with us tonight. Let's talk about our game week, shall we, lads? Who wants to go first? And why don't we start with you?
Okay.
How's it gone? Double game week.
Well, I don't know about you boys, but it feels a real big letdown, this double game week, doesn't it? There was a lot of talk about it, and this was the one where the fixtures were only released after the previous deadline or just after it, and people were meltdown on Twitter about it, and then there was people crying about it and all this stuff. And really, it's been a little bit dull, wasn't it? You've had United haven't scored, or barely even got a shot on target against Crystal Palace. And yeah, just lots of boring games, no real massive points. This was a game week I envisaged somebody getting 200 points. It was that kind of a game week. Of course, Pep Roulette, Mike, we played the game last week.
Oh, we played it last week. We'll be playing it again this week, let me tell you.
Lovely stuff. So good old Pep, reliable as ever, dropping players that we've got. So I'm currently sat here. I've only got one player still playing, which is actually live now, the Liverpool-Chelsea game. I've got Mason Mount. I've got 88 points, which is probably about part of the course for the week, probably. Gundogan, of course, was dropped. Came on late and did actually get an assist in the end against Wolves. He was my captain. Harvey Barnes got that really bad injury. For Leicester, he only got a point. Fernandes, nothing from him, 6. Sterling got 2. Bit of points up front. I had Ollie Watkins, 7, and Kane, 8. But all my points basically came from my back 4 of Martinez with 12, John Stones with 10, and I made a very late, as in the last half an hour of the window, I bought in Keane of Everton, who got me 15 points and was in fact my highest scorer. So I was really pleased with that. And Wan-Bissaka got 12. But yeah, I mean, other than that, boys, pretty dull. There was nothing really going on. So yeah, a little bit flat, I think. What about you boys?
Matt, what about yourself?
It's a horror show. 59.
It's like Phil's actually here.
I had 59, and I had not really. I think this week I actually forgot to check my team of all weeks.
Oh, wow.
So started Mitchell, played Barnes, who I've been riding for a little while, and that did not go well, did it? And Fabianski in goal, who Pope on my bench, Souček with 2 on my bench. It was not a pretty week. Captained Calvert-Lewin, who had 8. Heung-min Son was my vice. He scored 14 for me. Diaz and Digne, my 2 defenders, they scored 12 each. So that was big for me. But I threw a lot behind Southampton a while ago, and it felt like it was paying off for a while. And it's all off the Danny Ings train at this point.
Absolutely. Yeah.
8 defeats in 9 for Southampton now, isn't it? They are in free fall. So yeah, if you've got any Southampton assets, getting the hell out of your team.
Yeah, he's and I just did the work on him. He's scored twice since New Year's, 3 since November 6th when he returned. He returned from injury and scored on December 7th. Didn't score again for a month. Didn't score again for a month. So yeah, Danny Ings, boys.
Yeah, one to leave well alone. I think my understanding is myself and Danny we're quite good friends, and my understanding is, well, I say we're quite good friends. I'm his inspiration.
You spoke once,
right?
Yeah. He, I think he's moving in the summer, and I do wonder if maybe that's having a slightly detrimental effect. His contract's up in the summer, and looks like he'll be heading to Spurs. So, interesting times down at Southampton. There aren't many managers who you can look at and say, which was your favourite 9-0 defeat you had under them, and them still being a job. But hey, there we go.
It's all gone wrong, really, hasn't it? Since he was on his knees in tears at the end of the Liverpool game, old Harston Hutor. Since then, that's what they run. I know they've had pretty bad injuries, but I mean, it gives me a small bit of hope that Bournemouth might beat them in the cup quarter final that's coming up at the end of the month. Fingers crossed.
Yeah, that'll be big.
That certainly will be big.
Let's hear about your team, mate.
Yeah, I mean, look, it was okay. I think I made 5, possibly 6 changes to get here, so don't get too excited. But a score of 78. My captain was picked for me by Mickey Race, who won the fancy threesome punt the previous week. That was Harry Kane, so he doubled up to 16. Highlights, I guess: Tyrone Mings 9 points. Luke Shaw, so sure for 12, and Digne for 12, who I actually tipped last week to captain. So I could have made myself an extra 8 points back had I actually been able to captain him. But and De Bruyne, I brought him back in, and yeah, I'm sort of pleased now that I did. However, I think I've transferred him out for this week.
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
I have.
I have. He comes back in, right?
Say again.
Before he comes back in, right?
Yeah. I've bought who have I bought in? Sterling for him this week. I've made just the 2 changes this week. Cresswell and Sterling coming in. Oh, and one more. It's a cheeky one, boys. Little tip for you. Here's Mike's tip of the week. Joseph Willock is Joseph Willock is 4.7 million. He's starting every week for Newcastle. And look at this run of games they've got. They play West Brom, Aston Villa, Brighton, Spurs, Burnley. So 4 of their next 5 games are against a team in the bottom 6.
The only trouble with that is that Newcastle are awful.
Yes, they are, Pap. Yeah. That's true.
Because you look at some of these teams right now. West Brom's actually been competitive lately. Brighton is the biggest mystery to me in the Premier League because you watch them play and they look like a team that should have maybe double the win total that they do, and they just find a way to lose. How about that Crystal Palace game? When was the last time they scored? 15 years ago? And it was a banger against them. Goodness.
The best stat, I think, from that entire game was that Crystal Palace had 2 touches in Brighton's box, both of them in the goals, which was, I mean, just incredible. Brighton seems to have done that, especially since Christmas. They've been playing really, really well, all the build-up, and just can't find the back of the net, and they're being punished at the other end. But I think they'll be fine. You know, another defeats again for West Brom and Fulham tonight. I think that bottom three is going down as it is. I think Newcastle are going to stay up by the skin of their teeth, but we shall see. But Fulham as well, they've been playing. Well, I think that's why they're going down, isn't it? Fulham again, they play quite nice football, but they just can't put the ball in the back of the net. So there you go.
Okay, guys, let's talk about punts.
Yes, let's.
Now, Matt, you represent Phil tonight. I don't know if you remember who Phil's punt was, Ant?
I don't.
It was Pereira of West Brom, who did nothing.
Okie doke. What about yourself, Anthony?
I had Bernardo Silva, who also did nothing apart from miss a sitter against Wolves. So, Mike, open goal for you here, mate. Who did you have?
Open goal, and I will take it. Thank you very much. He shoots, he scores with Gylfi Sigurdsson, 2 assists in 2 games. Very happy with that. He came off the bench tonight and scored an assist. So,
15 seconds is all it took him tonight. Literally came
right?
On to the corner and came back out to him and put in a peach of a cross for Richarlison's winner. So there you go, mate. Great shout.
Well, happy days. So what that means is that I will not be having my captain picked, but either yourself or Phil will be. And Matt, of course, you sit in some pretty serious position here because you're going to play on behalf of Phil as to whether he has his captain picked or Ant has his captain picked.
Yeah,
as we play.
Likely worthless pick for him. So,
well, look, I wanted to be totally fair and down the line. So what I've gone for is how many players can you tell me that are American and have played in the Premier League?
Oh my days!
Fair's fair. So how many American players can you name that have played in the Premier League?
4.
4.
I might be able to do 5 even. Let's go 5. Why not?
Okay, let's go 5. What about yourself, Ant?
I'm just having a little think. It feels so low, but my mind is blank of American stars who have graced the Premier League. I think I can name 5. I'll be struggling with the 6th. That's my worry. Go on then, Matt. It's all yours, Matt. That's the guess. Let's have your 5.
The easy one is going to be Christian Pulisic, but I'm not going to use him as one of my 5.
Oh, that's cheeky. Like it.
Brad Guzan.
Brad Guzan is there. Yes, goalkeeper.
And there. Josie Altidore, who had a spell with Hull and was
Sunderland.
Yes, indeed. Yeah.
Tim Howard, Manchester United and Everton.
Oh, this feels like the proverbial walk in a park. Yeah.
This is far too easy so far.
Landon Donovan, who had a couple of loan spells with Everton.
Yes, he did.
You mentioned this earlier. It just seems like they all wind up there. Clint Dempsey, too. But my 5th pick is DeAndre Yedlin, who just left Newcastle under interesting circumstances.
Yeah. Lovely. Well, which brings it home.
Yeah.
There you go.
Which means, Ant, I'm afraid you will be having your captain pick this week by one of our lucky listeners. We'll do the research. Phil is admin, really. He's chief admin, so he will go away and work out who won the Fantasy Threesome punt in terms of our listeners. I'll just mention a few other Americans that we didn't bring up there. Brad Friedel.
Yep.
Did you mention Clint Dempsey?
But he wasn't one.
Jeff Cameron.
Yep.
Rory Wigley. Now that is taking it back to my days, the glory days. Rory Wigley played for QPR. Scored 13 goals for QPR in the Premier League. Brian McBride from Fulham.
Yeah, of course.
Carlos Bocanegra. I believe he was with Wigan.
And
Joe Max Moore, another Everton player, was on. I think on loan, maybe, Joe Max Moore to Everton. So there we go. There's been a fair few.
I will level you with you. I had no idea that Yedlin of Newcastle was American. No idea whatsoever. I've even missed how he left.
Apparently they just didn't renew his visa. Like surprise, his visa's up. He couldn't get back in the country, and they're like, "Well, off you go, Galatasaray." I think.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go.
Have fun.
A way to go. Yeah.
Look, lads. If you're up for it, we'll play a quick bit of pet roulette. But I'm thinking that we change the rules this time.
Okay.
So Ant, we're going to play Pet Roulette, and you're going to tell the listeners what it lands on. And we'll take turns in this every week for the defenders. And if you happen to call correctly the backline defense at the end of the season, there'll be a 10-point boost to your score.
Oh, I like it.
Yeah.
I mean, it feels like you need that boost, mate, to be honest, but that's fine.
I need to win many, many weeks. So, yeah, okay. So let's give it a quick go. So you're going to name 4 Man City defenders. Oh, we're off. 4 Man City defenders. Here comes the first one, Ant.
It's going to be...
Oh, hold on. Wait for it to drop. Okay, yes.
John Stones.
John Stones. That's first on Pep Roulette. Let's move to defence. No way, Ant. Who is that?
Diaz.
Who knew? There's Diaz, right? 2 more to find.
This is tense, by the way, guys. I'm feeling impressed with this.
Here we go.
Laporte.
3 central defenders he'll be playing. Interesting.
Yeah, apparently. It is.
Okay.
This is crazy. He's crazy.
Okay. Yeah, you can play 4 central defenders. You're going to bring Nathan Ake in. Who knows? Let's see. Pep Roulette. Where's it landed, Ant?
It's going to be.
Wait for it.
Wait for it.
There we go.
Kyle Walker.
He can play at centre back. So, who are Man City playing at the weekend, lads?
They've got a double game week this week, boys. Let me just double check for you. But I see they've got 2 games again. For what it's worth,
Southampton. It is.
Oh, both home games again. Manchester United and Southampton.
Oh, you can imagine that we want to play 4 centre backs against Southampton.
Yeah.
This only counts for the United game, to be clear.
Okay.
So I didn't win last week. Rodrigo, for some reason, did not get the pick. So Stones, Laporte, Diaz, and Walker. There they are. That's Pep Roulette for this week, Anthony. Here's hoping it comes good for you. In a way, I don't know that you really need much of an advantage. If I look at the league table, Anthony, these are exciting times for you because in our podcast league, of which there are, I don't know, a couple of hundred folks listening. We have got you in, is it 3rd place?
I'm in 3rd place at the moment, yeah.
Good grief. They'll be calling it a fix.
Good for you.
Dear.
Yeah, happy days. Yeah, I am leading. Phil's on my coattails, but I'm helped massively by the fact I think he hit a -20 this week.
Well, let's give you a quick look at the top 10, shall we? A top 10. Neither, I just miss out on the top 10. Notable mention, by the way, to Joe Parsons, who I know listens regularly, him of Parsons Players. But let's have a quick look. We've got Alex Hopkins, AFC Mother Goose in 10. Down 1, Anakin Dare Skywalker, Matt Bellotti. It's starting to drop off for him now.
Yeah,
Ben Boyle with Teen Spirit is up to 8. Aaron Hughes, Trent FC, he's a non-mover at 7. I feel like I need the Top of the Pops theme tune in the background.
I was going to say, this is right up your alley.
Yeah, Ekamino Ido, the DG and the CVFC, DJ CVFC, he's down to 6. Anonymous FC, Michael Ayabami. This feels like the team sheets I get at the start of the game. At 5, non-mover at 4, AAAFC, Jack Stokes, and there he is, Anthony Callett. Make way for AK.
There you go, boys.
I mean, I should warn you, you are 49 points off 2nd place, so a little bit of work to do, but I'm 249 points off you. So there's hope for all of us, I'm sure. Shout out to the top 2. They've been vying for top spot pretty much all season. FPL McMahon 11 on 17-22 and just 3 points ahead in 1st place, Stefan de Jong, and this will do. So
Stefan has certainly been in and around the top, like I say, all season. He has had a stormer. So he's sat there on 96 points to see as well. So he's going to be tough to catch.
Absolutely, he is. Right, let's move to have a quick look at this week's fixtures. I'm just going to bring them up on the screen. So those that are watching along at home can have a little look-see at it. Share screen, he says. I cannot wait for a day where we don't use phrases like share screen. I don't think you can share a screen without saying share screen.
Share screen.
And I look forward to a time where I don't see friends and loved ones and have to use the word unmute because it's doing my tree in. Here we go.
There it is. Beautiful.
Fixtures for this coming week, Saturday the 6th of March, of course. Short turnaround from game week to game week. I don't know about you boys. Actually, it's great having this kind of constant ebb and flow of games because it just does give you something to look out for, especially if you've got your squad well spread across various teams.
Nice. Yeah, agreed.
Burnley against Arsenal then. What do we think here? Matt, we'll let you take this one. Burnley against Arsenal.
You know, it's so weird because you get down to the end of the season and teams that have just been hot garbage all season long are starting to look competent. Burnley's one of them. They've looked really good lately, and Arsenal is Arsenal. They're there.
Yeah.
They look good some weeks, and then the next week they come out and lay an egg. So that's one that part of me kind of wants to stay away from entirely because you never know which Arsenal or which Burnley you're going to get at this point.
Mm. Yeah, I think that's fair. That's fair. You don't know. I see Arteta has been linked to the Barcelona job this week.
Wow.
Who isn't?
Which is pretty incredible stuff. Actually, they started to turn a corner, Barcelona. You know, they're on quite a decent run, and Atletico Madrid, it looked like that league was done and dusted. But there's life in the old dog, I think. Sheffield United, Southampton. Sheffield United, you know, it's another one of those, Matt. You've just called it, really. I mean, they are on the up. I mean, there was to quote the finale song from Mary Poppins Returns. There's nowhere to go but up when you are Sheffield United.
I know that. Yeah,
you know the Mary Poppins song.
A little bit. I watched.
It's an absolute belter. Angela Lansbury. I'll let you into a little secret. Maybe the next podcast. Maybe today I'll finish with it.
Viewing that would be great.
Well, no, I'll tell you. I might just do it. I'm going to do it. Nowhere to go but up. There it is. It's in my favourites. So I've got a karaoke app called Schmool, which sounds quite Norwegian, but it's you sort of have a sing along. It's pretty decent. It's a good giggle. £30 for the year, and when I drop the boys off to school in the morning, on my way home, I will pick a different track each day to belt out on the way home my car. It's a lot of fun. Nowhere to go but up. I did on the way home. I picked the boys up from school on Monday, and on the way home, I did Nowhere to Go But Up, and I did all the different actors' voices from Angela Lansbury all the way through.
That's incredible.
So maybe we'll do a bit of that, and Phil, if he does any kind of edit, can just sort of fade it down, you know, as we say goodbye. But I do a pretty decent Angela Lansbury.
It can't be worse than the viewing of Sheffield United versus Southampton. I will say that.
Nice,
cannot be worse.
And that is a proper recall. Nicely done, Matt. Not one probably for the neutrals. That one, is it?
I can see Sheffield United getting another win here. I mean, they'll be pleased to know now that Derby County will still have the Premier League record of the worst points tally. They've just gone above that now.
Finally.
Yeah. I mean, that was actually really good. Yeah, that was actually a really good result for Sheffield United against a really good Villa team who've done really well away from home as well. Southampton is just, their confidence is just on the floor, isn't it? You know, they just can't buy a result at the moment. So I wouldn't be surprised for Sheffield United to add to their misery with this one. I'm going to go 1-0 United for me. Another 1-0.
So you're looking at maybe Sheffield United defensive assets if you're looking for a differential there.
I was actually looking at Aaron Ramsdale. I mean, Aaron Ramsdale the other day in the first half against Liverpool was absolutely superb. Made some three or four really good saves. He's still there, still very low ownership. I mean, for people, Mike, like you, looking for differentials now, maybe might be one to look at. I mean, I can't imagine people are going to flood into Sheffield United defensive assets, let's be honest. But this might be a game where you might want to consider it.
Aston Villa for me are the if you were trying to describe Mary Poppins Returns as a football team, I would say Aston Villa because because there's some modern touches there, but some real nods to the past. And lots of little callbacks all the way through Mary Poppins Returns to the original, and dare I say it, the greatest film of all time. Closely followed by Mary Poppins Returns. I'll tell you, absolute gold dust. But there we go. Aston Villa and Wolves, two teams. They're a bit Forrest Gump. Box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get. Is Grealish going to be back? I think that's the
it's still question I've got.
If he's not back, that's an awful game to watch again. A lot of these fixtures are just not pleasant viewing, are they? I mean, Adama Traore, very exciting. I love watching him when he's on, but he doesn't have a goal or an assist this season, I think. I mean, there's been no supply up high for Wolves either. I've been so desperate in my draft fantasy league that I've brought in Ruben Neves, the man who only scores special goals, but he hasn't any,
Yeah, they really missed Raul Jimenez, haven't they, Wolves? Ever since he had that horrendous head injury, they've not really had the goals in them, have they? But, they're kind of just floating around bottom end of mid-table, not really going to go anywhere this season, are they?
I think they've taken Fabio Silva out of the firing line, put Willian Jose in. It doesn't seem to be flowing for either of them at the top. So in terms of attacking assets in that game, for me, I'd only be looking at Villa. You fancy maybe the usual suspects to pop up with a goal. Ollie Watkins, perhaps, maybe a Ross Barkley. Grealish would be good. Grealish is I've stuck with him just because I know Aston Villa have got games in hand, and so I'm hoping that I'll be able to cash in on that at some point. I also bought Tyrone Mings in last week, which, as I mentioned earlier, worked out okay for me. So we'll see on that one. Brighton Leicester. What has happened to Leicester? I'd like to just take a moment and reflect on the fact that I've gone big on Leicester. I talked up Pereira big time in the last pod. Bought Vardy back in a couple of weeks ago when I saw that he was back to full fitness. And it's gone to pot, lads. Don't know what's happening.
Yeah, well, I did highlight, didn't I? Tillemans in the last part as a potential differential. He did score against Arsenal.
You did.
But then it all went to pieces and they lost 3-1. Yeah, I watched them bits of the game against Burnley last night, and they were really hit and miss. Especially they looked lost in the first half. They did score a really good goal actually with Iheanacho, but defensively they looked all over the shop. Burnley really should have had two or three goals by half time. And they're just a bit up and down, aren't they? There's a few teams now who are like that. You don't know what you're going to get. And with this game, if Brighton can stick the ball in the back of the net when they make chances, you could see them actually winning this game.
But that's the problem. Brighton can't stick the ball in the back of the net, can they?
Yeah. No. And if Mobley doesn't score, then they really don't score. So I guess for me is whoever scores first, really.
I think the biggest two things for me when I look at Leicester, Maddison being out, and now Barnes. I've ridden him for a little while now, especially in my draft league where it's tougher to come by these assets. Barnes, I was counting on him at the beginning of the season. They didn't use him. They brought in some other options. Then they went back to a middle of the season and he caught fire. He's jumped up the rankings. But now he's going to be gone for a while, and they really miss him, and they've really missed Maddison lately too. And you can see it a little bit early on when Maddison wasn't there. They struggled to create a little bit. Tielemans is a good kind of secondary asset that he can play off those guys really well and be a really good player. But if it's all on him, teams just swarm him in the midfield, and they can't service Vardy without those guys.
I'll tell you who else Leicester missed, James Justin. I mean, he was the one player I'd had in from week one, and he's been superb this season, absolutely brilliant. He's been a good attacking outlet for them as well. And that knee injury of his was a bit of a shocker. So, yeah, they are, again, they're riding some injuries, Leicester, as most teams are, and they are suffering from that.
I thought it's interesting. Sorry, Matt, go on.
Yeah, I thought last year a little bit of what happened to them was they were a young squad that was kind of figuring out how to win at the end of the season, and it all kind of caught up with them. This season, I mean, the injuries have just caught up with them. I mean, there's no two ways about it. I think if they're full health, they probably cruise through these last couple of weeks, but knocked out in Europe, now beaten up in the league a little bit. I don't think it's really their fault, but it is what it is.
Yeah, you're right. And they're another team that there's been quite a bit of speculation over their manager. I mean, we talked about Ings earlier on. Brendan Rodgers has been linked with Spurs quite a lot during the rough patch that Spurs have been going through until last week. So yeah, tricky times. Interesting. I put Pereira in, and in the lineup graphic that Leicester, I didn't see the game, but in the lineup graphic that Leicester released, Pereira was playing basically on the wing in front of Castagna.
Yeah.
So you've got a defensive asset there that if they can keep a clean sheet is going to get you your 6 points. He's going to play the 90 minutes. But also is I mean, we talk about fullbacks bombing on. He's not playing as a fullback. He's playing as a winger. So yeah, I'm going to stick with him and hope that he comes good at Brighton. But you're right. I mean, they play Thomas at left back. And Thomas, maybe you could do a better version of that for me, Matt. Couldn't you, like Tom and Jerry, when the mum comes in?
That's a little before me.
Oh, okay, all right. Let's go to Sunday. Then we've had our Saturday fix of football there. We move into Sunday, easing us in whilst the roast is in the oven. West Brom host Newcastle. It's the black and white derby. What do we think?
This may be the game to cook something a little bit more involved so it keeps you away from this. Don't just pop it in the oven and walk away. This is this is not going to be a fun one. It's
interesting. Like I say, Newcastle's running games are pretty decent, and you just think it's got to click. They have got a half decent squad. A much, if on paper their squad is far superior to the likes of West Brom and Brighton, so and Burnley. So they are in a bit of a false position. We know that Wilson's out for a good few weeks yet. Fraser isn't happy. I see that Matt Ritchie has fallen out with the manager as well in training. So all is not well there. And they are getting, we've talked about it in previous weeks, but they are well and truly getting dragged into it. In fact, I think I checked the odds a couple of days back, and Newcastle were now favourites to go down in terms of, Burnley, Fulham, Newcastle, Brighton.
Wow.
Shortest odds to go down were Newcastle.
Wow.
And the bookies don't often get it wrong. So, we'll see.
I'm actually going to disagree with Matt on this one. Yeah, I agree with you. I don't think it's going to be a pretty game, but I think this is really watchable, because if Newcastle lose this game, they're going to be seriously looking over their shoulders.
It was very morbid. Very, very morbid of you, Anthony.
The thing is, we've said this on pods. My favourite away day from our time in the Premier League was at Newcastle.
Sure.
The days when I got to hug you, Mike, when we scored a goal.
Love that.
Yeah, I miss that so much. And it was brilliant. And Newcastle as a city is great, but just the fact that they've got Ryan Fraser there is enough for me to want them to go down. And they are seeing a grumpy Ryan Fraser, the same Ryan Fraser who refused to play for us after during Project Restart last season. And looks like he's throwing his toys out of the pram already. The one thing I would say for him was that he did put in a beaut of a cross for their equaliser the other day. So he has still got that in his locker. But yeah, West Brom, they win this game. Newcastle are in trouble. But let's go to the next fixture. And this might be something that may...
Before we do, because I don't feel I laboured the point enough earlier on, I really think people should be looking at young Joseph Willock, on loan from Arsenal, 4.7 million. There's a few players fallen by the wayside in that price bracket due to injury. And that run of fixtures, he started the last 4 games. He came off after 78 minutes, a couple of games back, but he played the full 90 against Manchester United and Wolves. And I like the look of him when he made his debut. On debut, he was really, really decent for Newcastle. Chipped in with a goal and an assist, as I recall. So 4.7 million, folks. You can thank me later. Sorry. Liverpool, Fulham then, yes.
Yeah, well, I mean, boys, what do you think here? Liverpool in disarray at home, aren't they? Well, in disarray, really, full stop, aren't they? It's currently 0-0 still. I can just see that now, home to Chelsea. But yeah, imagine that. A month, 6 weeks ago, they would have lost. Is it 4 straight home games now in the Premier League?
Yeah.
I think they went 3-4 years, if not longer, not without losing a game, and they've lost 4 on the bounce. Unbelievable. But surely, at home to Fulham, they may just sneak this. They are slowly getting some players back from injury. Assets here, boys. Salah, maybe the obvious ones.
Well, I love a Salah blank. Absolutely love a Salah blank. So,
I've had Mane on my draft league team, and that has been an abject disaster. Trent Alexander-Arnold too. I mean, it just feels like it feels like there's just no value there because they're not finding ways to keep clean sheets. Amazingly, their goal output's concentrated in just a couple of guys, and the guys around them just don't seem like they're providing assists. So it's kind of either Salah shows up or nothing happens for them. They're not getting assists from Trent. Anything that is coming in from fullback is coming from Robertson, but even he's not seemed as steady an asset as he's been in the past. And then revolving door at center back, which, awful injuries they've had.
Mike, you got it absolutely bang on. Sorry, just to go in there, you got it bang on because you took out Liverpool assets earlier than most people did. And that was actually a really good call.
Yeah, well, I really wanted Salah, but the reality was he was just too expensive. Same with Fernandes, and we'll come to Man United in a minute. But it also it just bored me, week in, week out, me going, yeah, Salah scored. And then actually, all the messages would come in from you guys. Oh, Salah scored. I was like, okay, this is just a dead rubber. There's no point with this. So, right. So very happy to move him out. I'm very happy to see him blank on a regular basis. I think they need to settle on a centre back pairing. I think you make a good point there, Matt. There does seem to be a revolving door in terms of centre back. So them finding a pairing to settle on and to grow a relationship. Good teams have partnerships all over the pitch, and I don't see many partnerships in that Liverpool side that we maybe did last year. And this clean sheet problem for Liverpool isn't new. Last season, Trent and Robertson, they made up for a lack of clean sheets with some really good attacking points. But I remember last year bringing in the likes of Adrian, thinking, oh, well, this is good. It's perfect, and week after week, they'd let in a goal on kind of 80 minutes in, and bang would go my clean sheet point. So
they've been missing Joe Gomez. They've been missing Virgil van Dijk.
Yeah.
They had Fabinho at center back. He's been gone. They had Jordan Henderson at center back, and then he went down with an injury too. It's stunning to see. They've had to dive into the academy. They had Phillips for a little while. They had Reece Williams for a little while. It's so tough, I think, for them to build that consistency because of all the damage in one place. It's not even like it's been spread around. They pulled half their midfield to go play back there, and then those guys got hurt. Yeah,
it's interesting, isn't it? We used to have a chair in the office where people say, well, don't sit there, you'll get sacked. It always seems to see that whoever sits there ends up getting sacked. Well, it's like that. If I get the call from the manager at Liverpool, and I'm a midfielder or a winger, and he says, "Oh, do you want to just go and play centre back?" No, thank you. I will kick off for the sake of my career, for the sake of my health.
Brilliant.
But there we go. All right, let's look at the Manchester derby then, boys. It's a 4:30 kickoff on Sunday afternoon. It's another one where I'm hoping for. I'm hoping for a Fernandes blank first and foremost, and anything after that is a bonus, really. What about you, chaps?
Yeah, I've still got 3 City assets: Gundogan, Stones, and Sterling. And but with Pep Roulette, who's going to turn up? But Man United are the interesting one for me. I saw a great tweet that came out after their draw with Palace the other night, which was Manchester United joined Bournemouth as the only teams to fail to have more than a single shot on target in a game against Crystal Palace in the last 2 years. So that's a pretty sorry indictment on United's performance the other night. And they didn't do a lot, did they, attacking wise against Chelsea? 2-0 draws in this double game week. I think here, I'm really tempted to take Fernandes out, I have to say. He's gone a little bit quiet. City are absolutely flying, 20 straight wins now. I can see them winning this game as well, fairly comfortably. I might be biting the bullet here and taking Bruno out myself. I know, Mike, you've just done it. Matt, what's your views on Bruno?
It's so interesting because he's been so appetizing, but so much of his production has come from the penalty spot too. So if they're not drawing penalties, there goes a lot of his value. Not all of it. He's still a good asset to have, one of the better ones. But the penalties are what's pushed him over the top, and you just don't feel like they're drawing as many right now, I think. But Solskjaer's found a way to make these games, these big games, really, really dull, right? Try to sap the energy out of them. And that's been a bit of an effective tactic because they'd go into some of these games and kind of get ripped apart at times by some of these big teams. Instead, they've tried to drag them down and make them 0-0 and maybe poach a goal in there or try to get an early one and then hang on and just try to suck the life out of the game. And it's not giving them wins in some of these big games, but it is giving them points against these other big teams. And I think that's important for them to keep building on. Just keep getting points as much as you can.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm just having a quick look at their lineup from last night. They had a midfield, wow. So their midfield were McTominay, Matic, and Fred.
Oh,
against Crystal Palace, who have been in pretty abject form themselves. McTominay and Fred and Matic. Why are you playing 3 holding midfielders there?
Unbelievably defensive, isn't it?
Yeah.
Nearly similar to when Bournemouth played 9 defensive players against Cardiff the other week. Yeah, incredible. I mean, it's no wonder they failed to really have a shot on target, is it? So strange one there from Ollie, but City, I think they just look so good going forward. Even when there was a little blip there, and Wolves had the audacity to get themselves level the other night, City just came out, brought on Gundogan, brought on some more of the big guns, and just rolled them over in the end. They are absolutely flying, aren't they? And to think, it doesn't feel that long ago that they were below mid-table. And
what they did fail to do in the double game week though was keep a clean sheet.
This is true.
So my tip for the last couple of weeks has been, get Ederson in, guys. He's guaranteed to play. He's the one player you can rely on in that City team. And look at the run of, when was the last? I think they've conceded 1 goal since November the 13th. And then suddenly, in comes Ederson to my team. And you can kiss goodbye to blanks there. So, very disappointing. Very disappointing. Spurs Crystal Palace. The revival is on. The title charge. It's back.
You're right all along, Mike.
So they play Bale, they play Son, they play Kane for the first time together as a 3, and lo and behold, they play some decent stuff and they win a game comfortably.
Well, that front 4 they had tonight looked pretty tasty, didn't it? With Dele in there, Bale, Kane, Son looked really good, and you would expect them. Palace are very, very defensive. If they can score an early goal first 20 minutes or so, I suppose you would expect them to win this one comfortably. But Jose, how long can you see him being there long term, boys, at Spurs? Because I don't think I can. Just kind of featuring, isn't he?
He tends to get the 3-year itch, so we're building to that. But I think what's interesting is at the point at which he is most under pressure as a manager, and there's no doubt about it. He was under some serious pressure given the run they'd been on. He opts to go with a front 3 like that for the first time. Bale isn't going to track back, not at his age now. He's not going to track back. Kane, I know he lies deep, but that's not his game, and nor will Son. So you've got an out and out front 3 there, and suddenly they're playing expansive attacking football, the sort of football that Spurs fans have actually been crying out for, and it comes good. It goes against the grain of everything Jose would normally do with a team, and maybe he said, well, you know what, to heck with it. I've got another option. I've got to try it, and maybe he's almost by despair, by accident, or by design, who knows? He stumbled across a lineup that might actually keep him in a job.
Yeah, I think part of it with him is he wants to give his guys free rein to go forward if they do all that work defensively. But that's where it starts with him. And their defender, Eric Dyer's not a Premier League level central defender. Sorry, it's not working, right? They've gone through a revolving door there. They've had problems at right back as well, with Aurier giving away some real shockers at times. They've been looking for consistency along that back line, and I don't think those guys can provide what he wants. And then in the midfield too, are they stout enough defensively? Do they offer enough of a two-way game? And Ndombele's given them a little bit of that, but Dele's not been in the lineup much of the year. It just doesn't feel like it's a team. I think they're doing some of the things he wants them to do, and he won't turn them loose, though, because they're not that stout defensively, and he's forcing these guys to come back, and that's stifling the attack. That's why you see them winning 1-0 earlier today in a game where they probably should have won by 12.
Boys, we have a goal, Claxon.
Oh,
not Salah.
Uh-oh.
Liverpool 0, Chelsea 1, Mason Mount. Thank you very much.
Terrific. He's in my team as well. That's great news.
Whoops.
Yes. There you go. Werner had one ruled out just before, apparently, because his armpit was offside, the classic VAR armpit offside. But yeah, just seen that come now. So Liverpool, as it stands, heading for a 5th straight home defeat, which is absolutely unbelievable.
Well,
It is.
in my opinion, the guy there, I know he's come under a little bit of pressure from the media. You know, the fans aren't in the stadium, so you know, and social media. You know, you just hear those that shout loudest in terms of, you know, negativity, don't you, on social media? But I think the guy's got a job for life. You know, he won them the title after 30 years. He won them the Champions League. And no matter how bad it gets this season, I don't think there should be anybody calling for his head. But there you go. Yeah. I just want to talk about a player for Spurs who, whose name I've struggled to announce. But it is Sergio Reguilon. Reguilon. I'm still struggling. But for the last 2 weeks, he's had a 10-point haul.
Wow.
So in fact, this double game week, 20 points. So he got 10 points in each. So against Burnley, he got the 90 minutes, he got an assist, he got a clean sheet, he got a bonus. Exactly the same against Fulham. So yeah, 90 mins, 1 assist, 1 clean sheet, 1 bonus point. 10 points apiece. Really like him, and you know, like you say, they do start with that base, that defensive base. So yeah, might be worth a look.
He's a player. He's a player for sure. He's one to keep an eye on long term too, I think.
Yeah, agreed.
Chelsea, Everton. We've just, you know, Chelsea are banging form. You know, they're grinding out results without being spectacular, and it looks like they could sneak something tonight as well from the sounds of it. Chelsea assets. What do we think, chaps? We've talked about Mason Mount. He's good value. Anyone else we should be looking at?
Well, defensively, they're keeping clean sheets. I'm regretting currently. I've got Aspilicueta sat here on my bench tonight, who got a clean sheet against Man United, heading for another clean sheet. You're looking at defensive assets for them, aren't you? I would suggest they don't. Tuchel has made them really difficult to break down. They're not conceding many goals. I mean, as I say, Aspilicueta, since I brought him in, he's been good at the back. Rudiger as well was another one. Those two have formed a bit of a partnership. So they're not scoring many, but they're not letting many in. So maybe some more of their defensive assets are worth looking at. Chilwell is still quite pricey and seems to be in and out a little bit. But about James, Mike, he's one you've really plugged this season, isn't he? And he seems to be a little bit back in favour at the moment. Yeah,
he does. And again, in a slightly more advanced role like Pereira, he's almost playing as a winger, Reece James. So yeah, I do like him. Chilwell, I would avoid for now. I think he's only starting 1 in 3 at the moment under Tuchel. So I wouldn't be in a hurry to put him in at that price as well. Tammy Abraham is interesting because he's not getting a look in. So Giroud, Werner's a lot of money. Giroud might well be the option, and I've long kind of stayed away from Giroud because I figured he'd just be an off the bench player, but seems to be getting the minutes.
Yeah. I think it's so interesting, too. They're keeping all these clean sheets. Zuma, I believe, was the #1 defensive fantasy Premier League asset when he went to the bench. And
absolutely right.
Full 90 once since then. I mean, it was a stunning decision, it seemed, but it's kind of paying off.
Yeah. I had Zuma in that real kind of purple patch that he was in, and then probably got him out when it was clear that he wasn't going to be in favour. Yeah, they haven't obviously missed him, but yeah, what a bit of a strange one how he kind of fell out of favour in the team really, because when Chelsea went top in December, he was a big part of that. But they certainly look a lot more solid under Tuchel. He's done a pretty good job so far.
Hey, another manager who's done a really good job is Carlo Ancelotti over at Everton. Win tonight sees them briefly into the top 4, I believe. And Sigurdsson is an interesting one. We talked about the fact that he was my punt. He's had an assist in the last two games, and yet he chose not to start him tonight, which is interesting. With Rodriguez injured as well, you would think, in terms of creativity, you've kind of got the pace and supposedly pace and trickery of someone like a Iwobi, but actually in terms of somebody that can pick a pass. It seems mad to me that Sigurdsson's not starting.
Yeah, completely agree with that. I mean, Everton actually first half were awful actually, and I think if they were playing anyone other than West Brom, they would have been in trouble. The final third, it was breaking down constantly. Calvert-Lewin doesn't look the same player he did at the start of the season. He had a really, really good chance, hit it straight at the goalkeeper when he should have scored. I think Chelsea will win this game, to be honest with you, and Everton just lacking that little bit. A good win for them tonight, but yeah, like you say, Mike, until Sigurdsson came on, really, they didn't look like scoring.
Yeah, agree. I like Chelsea in this one. Chelsea attacking assets, and I think Everton defend fairly well in this game, but Chelsea, they're finding a way to get it done. I like Chelsea defensive assets too. As Piliqueta, I think he's one of them that's not a bad pick.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. And then bringing the curtain down on the game week, West Ham against Leeds. West Ham, who are doing a phenomenal job.
Yeah, they are.
Unbelievable.
One change that I may well look at actually ahead of this weekend is DCL out, Antonio back in. Because, yeah, I mean, they show no sign of letting up. I figured, this was just a lucky run they were on and they very quickly fall away, but they don't seem to be fading anytime soon.
No, they don't. No, they've had an incredible season. Currently sitting sixth. They only just stayed up just above the relegation zone last year. I'm not really sure what Moyes has done really for them to have such a good season. I'm not quite sure what's changed from last season. The perennial strugglers in recent seasons, but yeah, this year, I mean, even you look at the weekend, they could have quite easily got something at Man City. We're pretty unlucky not to get a point from that game. They gave it a real good go. But yeah, David Moyes doing so well at West Ham isn't something I envisaged when he came back to the club, to be honest with you. He felt a little bit desperate at the time to me, but he's doing a pretty unbelievable job. But on the other side of this game, Leeds, I think most people, some of us through gritted teeth, have to say we've enjoyed watching Leeds this season, haven't we?
Yeah,
I don't mind watching them. I can't stand the love in at every half time or full time from all the pundits.
Yeah.
But yeah, they've done all right.
David Moyes has to be manager of the year, doesn't he?
Yeah,
agreed. Yeah. Unless they fall off the cliff and now go on a horrendous run and everyone forgets about it from now to the end of the season, yeah, he has to be. He's got to be a shoo-in for that, hasn't he?
And I remember everybody saying when they hired him, they were like, "What are they doing?" I mean, if you're trying to stay up, this isn't the guy to bring in to stay up. And then they sort of limp over the line. And I mean, now they legitimately look like a team that should be playing in Europe next year.
Well, they sold Haller as well, haven't they? Which went kind of under the radar.
Yeah.
He kind of slipped out the club without anyone really noticing.
Yeah.
Such as how good they've been. So amazing.
Well, there's a few players like that in the West Ham squad who have either been shipped out or have been benched. Felipe Anderson came in with a big price tag and a big reputation to match, and it hasn't happened for him. And they persisted with him, for a good year and a half. But Moyes has had the strength of mind to keep him on the bench and say, look, regardless of what we paid for you, you'll be earning your place in the starting 11. And he's gone with younger players. He's gone with British players. Hats off to him. Just looking at Antonio and the DCL, it's not a move I'll be making. And the reason I won't be making that swap is that after this weekend, Everton's 3 games are Burnley, Palace, Brighton.
Ooh.
So even an out of form DCL, you would hope would be picking up some points. Okay, we've well and truly covered the coming game week. Then let's talk about our punts for this week. I was victorious last time around. Will I be this time around? Anthony, who have you gone for?
I've gone for a Premier League legend here, boys. I'm amazed he's not been picked more often. Mr. David McGoldrick.
Oh, sorry, what now?
Yeah, Mr. David McGoldrick, who scored the winner for Sheffield United the other night. I mean, he's probably not going to be fit or something. He's probably not going to play 2 games, but I'm going for it. 1.5% ownership against a Southampton team in disarray. So there we go.
For the record, he has the same number of points as Bernardo Silva at 69.
And there you go. So,
well, funnily enough, Bernardo Silva is Phil's punt. He's told us this week, but I'd like to know who yours are. Who yours is, Matt?
I'm going to go with Sunderland Till I Die fame, Josh Maja.
All right.
France had a big haul a couple of weeks ago in his second game back in England, and I like the kid. He's got a pretty lousy fixture plate in front of him, but let's take a flyer, Josh Maja.
All right, cool. So away at Liverpool.
Liverpool, who are about to lose 5 straight Premier League games. At home.
Yeah. Could Fulham make it 6? Wow, what a story that would be.
Awful defense, So it's a fixture to target now.
All right.
So, who's going to be the player to get you a second win on the trot then?
I keep forgetting and then remembering again. That's right. I've remembered again. Davinson Sanchez of Spurs. Looking for Spurs defensive assets. He started the last 3 matches for them. For whatever reason, Toby Alderweireld doesn't seem to be in favour. So, I'm going to go Davinson Sanchez. I fancy them at home to Crystal Palace, keeping a clean sheet. A Palace without Wilf Zaha tends to be a bit shot shy. So, it's a bit of a sneaky move on my part, but I'll go for Sanchez.
Like that one, mate. Sneaky.
Like it. Bold.
Look, Matt, thanks so much for coming on. Love having you on. It feels a treat, just the exotic accent you bring, if nothing else,
really
Matt. As well as plenty of insight, of course. But
sure.
Great to have you on board. So thanks for stepping in.
Accent. I know we're very nasally here in Michigan. I didn't know that was exotic, but I appreciate it.
I love it. There's a great podcast if you've not heard it before called Fighting Talk. I would check it out, hosted by Colin Murray.
Okay.
And there's a sports reporter called Greg Brady, who I think he might be from Canada actually, but he sounds very, very similar to yourself. Very similar. Greg Brady. Look him up.
I can see it.
Yeah. Do you know him, Greg Brady?
No, I don't. But I can. There's a little Canadian in the accent going on. I live up against the Canadian border, so there's a little bit of it soaking through.
Oh, look! I close my eyes and I'm on a pod with Greg Brady. So check out his voice. Let me know what you think, and let me know about that podcast. Not that I'm massive on flagging up other podcasts, but Fighting Talk with Colin Murray is it's a great show, really great show.
I appreciate it.
Pleasure, Matt. Pleasure, Anthony. Thanks as ever.
No, you're very welcome, my friend. You're very welcome.
We look forward to having PB back. Sooner rather than later, please, because it leaves me not quite sure how we got here, but it leads me to finish with my very best Angela Lansbury.
This is going to be epic.
This is going out to the Burnley fans and the Southampton fans, and indeed Newcastle. Here we go. Life's a balloon that stumbles or rises, depending on what is inside. Fill it with hope and playful surprises, and oh dearie ducks, then you're in for a ride. Look inside the balloon, and if you hear a tune, there's nowhere to go but up. And Phil could fade out at that point. Thank you, chaps.
Good night.
Good night.